Consciousness still remains one of the greatest mysteries for humanity. Why do the things we see, hear, and feel even exist? Science has discovered so much, and even though robots and artificial intelligence have become part of our lives, we still cannot fully understand why and how a human being exists. How do you exist as you? It's as if a small, second self lives inside your mind and continues the story of your life. But how does that happen? Everyone experiences consciousness, yet describing it with words is incredibly difficult. Philosophers and scientists say that consciousness is far from simple. The deeper you explore it, the stranger and more complex it becomes. Moreover, it has different levels. In this video, we're going to explore those levels. But before we begin, take a moment to subscribe to the channel and like the video. It might seem like a small action to you, but for us, it's a big support. If you're ready, let's begin. Let's start with the first level, deep sleep. Deep sleep is both a simple and mysterious state of consciousness. Every night we enter this stage effortlessly, and the mind falls into such a profound emptiness that we don't even feel the emptiness itself. It's something like this. The world disappears, the sense of I fades away, and even dreams cease to exist. The only thing that remains is an infinite, silent void. Although we experience this every day, it goes far beyond the limits of our understanding. We only realize we were asleep after we wake up. The hours in between pass as if they never existed at all. According to neuroscience, during this stage, the brain operates slowly, dominated by delta waves. This phase is essential for physical restoration. The nervous system relaxes, tissues heal, and memories are strengthened. But something else also happens in deep sleep. Experience, time, and space disappear. Consciousness returns to its source, like a wave merging back into the ocean and forgetting it ever was a wave. Philosophers call this state an effortless dissolution. It's not identical to death, yet when you wake up, you realize you spent a period of time in complete absence. This paradox, existing without feeling existence, has fascinated thinkers for centuries. Modern philosophers refer to this as the zero point of consciousness. Here, the boundary between consciousness and unconsciousness dissolves. And yet, even in this emptiness, consciousness does not entirely vanish. Even in the deepest layers, a trace of awareness remains. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to make sense of anything when you wake up in the morning. Consciousness simply watches quietly from behind the curtain. Deep sleep is both an ending and a beginning. The self dies every night, and consciousness is reborn each morning. As you wake up, you rebuild the world from the emptiness. Senses reopen, and the one who dreams takes shape again. But for those few hours, you disappear completely. This may be the purest peace the mind ever knows. Beyond that emptiness lies a kind of creativity that surpasses human imagination. The second level is dream sleep. Here, thoughts begin to move, images form, and without opening your eyes, you find yourself in a completely different place. In this state, consciousness creates its own world. Physical sensations fade, the body remains still, yet entire scenes unfold on the stage of the mind. In just a few minutes, you can live what feels like an entire lifetime. One moment you're flying, and the next you're trapped in a room with no doors. The strangest part is that everything feels real. Scientifically, dreaming begins with the REM stage, which comes after deep sleep. The eyes move rapidly, brain activity increases, and dreams become vivid. The mind fills with stories, images, and emotions. The body stays still, but the mind is completely free. Philosophy sees dreaming as a small model of existence. In Hindu philosophy, it's called svapna, and in ancient Greek culture, it was considered a message from the gods. Modern neuroscience views it as the transformation of daily memories into symbolic narratives. But a dream is something truly unique. You are both the creator and the one living inside that world. The laws of physics, the structure of space, and the flow of time are all shaped within you. Every sound is your mind's response, and every face is a creation of your memories. The dreamer and the dream are the same. You build your own world, then forget that you created it, and wander through it as a character. Yet dreams carry emotions and consequences. Nightmares can make your heart race, while lucid dreams can make you feel like a superhero. Even things that aren't real can leave very real effects. For example, you might fly like a bird in a dream, and only after waking up does it feel impossible. Dreams reveal the creative side of consciousness and raise an interesting question. Perhaps the life we live during the day is also a kind of dream. Every night, the mind creates worlds that cannot exist, yet you fully believe in them while inside. The only difference is that sometimes the only one who remembers this is you. The third level is wakefulness. When you wake up, the morning light enchants your eyes, and faint red marks from sleep still linger on your face. You look around. The color of the sky, the green grass of the meadow. The traces of night have vanished, and consciousness opens itself to the full spectrum of experience. Colors, sounds, scents, and sensations merge together and create meaning in your world. The brain processes billions of signals every second and transforms chaos into organized patterns. Every sound, color, and shape becomes an electrical signal, which the mind interprets as a three-dimensional experience. Neuroscience calls this the default mode network, the mental system that constructs a continuous story for the observer at the center of the universe. But no matter how vivid waking life seems, it is also limited. Our senses reveal only a portion of reality and cannot provide the full experience. Some animals perceive aspects of the world that are completely different from ours. Reptiles can see infrared, bats use echolocation, and cows and butterflies can sense magnetic fields. In humans, synesthesia can occur, seeing colors and shapes when hearing music, for example. In such a case, how can we claim to truly know reality? Time also changes depending on our attention. The mind fills in gaps, erases details, and creates continuity from memories. We perceive the world only in the ways our nervous system allows. The brain does not reflect reality. It simulates it. Philosophers have explored this for centuries. Descartes asked whether we might be dreaming. Kant argued that perception does not reveal truth, and Donald Hoffman describes perception as a user interface designed for survival. Our senses do not show reality. They provide symbols sufficient for life. Despite all this uncertainty, waking life is different from sleep. Here, there is resistance, gravity, consequences, the positions of others. The waking world is built upon previous experiences, and each morning, consciousness rewrites its story, forgetting yesterday's memories. Waking life is not the opposite of dreaming. It is simply the most persistent dream, vivid enough for you to believe it is real. Most of the time, consciousness stops here. We live our lives somewhere between wakefulness, dreams, and deep sleep. The mind rarely pauses long enough to perceive something permanent beneath it all. But there are deeper layers: emerging only when the mind is completely still. When thoughts fall silent and attention turns inward, a new dimension of consciousness opens, pure, quiet, and undisturbed awareness. The fourth level is called Transcendental consciousness. Beyond wakefulness, dreams, and deep sleep, there exists a state that cannot be mapped by the usual charts of the mind. Here, consciousness is both alert and completely still. Thoughts slow down and then cease entirely. The body and senses remain, but attention turns inward, resting at the source of awareness. This silent consciousness is an experience separated from thought. Consciousness no longer directs itself toward anything. It simply is. From a scientific perspective, it is fascinating. Under normal conditions, the brain's hemispheres operate somewhat asynchronously, with different regions functioning independently and chaotically. But in experienced meditators, EEG studies reveal a different pattern. Both hemispheres synchronize, and brain waves align at the same frequency. As the inner mind calms, the brain calms as well. Chaos transforms into harmony. From a philosophical perspective, transcendental consciousness is the first experience that transcends the self. Descartes' statement, "I think, therefore I am," transforms here. Thought disappears, yet the I remains. This awareness is marked by simplicity. It does not judge or interpret. It merely observes. Sometimes the uninterrupted flow of thoughts in waking life comes to a halt. In that moment, the observer realizes that it was never about the thoughts themselves. It was the space in which they arose. Many describe this as returning home. But this home is not physical. It is a familiar state of being. It is as if the mind spent its life searching outward for meaning, only to turn around and discover that what it was seeking was itself. In transcendental consciousness, awareness radiates like light. The observer and the observed become one. It is the discovery of the moment when the world ceases to exist. Consciousness untouched by thought, time, or form. Here, experience goes beyond what science can measure. Instruments record patterns, the brain remains active, yet part of the experience escapes measurement. Logic trembles, philosophy comes alive. If the mind is aware without thought, then who is the knower? When the story of the I falls silent, what remains of the I that sees? The fifth level is cosmic consciousness. Here, something extraordinary happens. The calm of transcendental awareness remains even when you open your eyes. Clarity persists while you move and act. This is cosmic consciousness, inner and outer awareness existing simultaneously. Consciousness does not waver between contradictions. You can think, speak, move, and feel, yet beneath it all remains a deep, unmoving clarity. Joy and sorrow, gain and loss, all arise within unbroken awareness, simply observing everything. Life continues, but your relationship with it has changed. You are no longer completely caught up in the story. You both observe it from a distance and experience it up close. Science calls this sustained meta-awareness, the brain system for simultaneously monitoring internal and external experiences. Heartbeats and brain waves rarely align. The body's alertness merges with the mind's stillness. Philosophically, this marks the beginning of direct self-realization. It is often described as realizing the inner self apart from the play of thought and emotion. The body, emotions, and personality are not you. They are expressions of something greater. What was once a brief moment of meditative observation becomes a constant background. individuality does not disappear. You simply no longer take it as the whole truth. The world moves, but you're no longer swept away by it. Emotions ripple like waves on the surface of the ocean. Suffering arises, yet the unshakable stillness remains. Even pain becomes a movement within consciousness, not outside it. You're both participant and observer, actor and stage. Many mystics call this the observer state and the first sustained awakening. It is not extraordinary or distant. It is ordinary life experienced from a higher vantage point. You still walk, speak, and breathe, yet simultaneously find stillness in infinity. In cosmic consciousness, the self and the universe reflect each other. When you create the universe with the awareness within you, the individual soul and the cosmic soul are not separate. They are simply images mirrored in tranquil waters. The boundary between inner and outer reality begins to dissolve. The sixth level is God consciousness. Here, awareness transforms once again. What was previously a silent observer is now connected with everything. You feel the same clarity in every being. A tree is no longer merely an object. It breathes, vibrates, and glows with a serene divine light. The boundary between the perceiver and the perceived softens, and every existence is filled with reverence and awe. Consciousness no longer merely observes, it now touches everything with love. From a neuroscience perspective, this corresponds to highly synchronized gamma activity. The brain's emotional and sensory centers unite, and perception becomes refined. Reality is experienced not only with the eyes, but also with the heart. Consciousness expands from neutrality to devotion, moving from merely observing the universe to falling in love with it. Philosophical and mystical traditions describe this in different ways. Sat Chit Ananda in the Vedas, Theosis in Christian mysticism, Ishq-i-Hakiki in Sufism. All point to the same reality. The universe is not a cold mechanism, but an expression of living consciousness. Here, love is no longer just a feeling. It becomes a way of perceiving and seeing. The seventh level is unity consciousness. Here, the observer disappears. Consciousness itself merges with the universe, and all distinctions vanish. You do not perceive unity. You are unity. Infinity is no longer distant. It is the substance of your awareness. There is no individual looking at the world anymore. There is only consciousness, an infinite being flowing and radiating through every form and thought. Unity consciousness surpasses the limits measurable by science. Some neuroscientists call this non-dual awareness. The hemispheres synchronize, but even this is only a shadow of the experience. It is the field in which brain and world emerge together. Philosophers describe it through different metaphors: the realization of Brahman in Vedanta, Sunyata in Mahayana Buddhism, and for mystics, paradoxes like a drop becoming the ocean, or a flame recognizing itself in another flame. In unity consciousness, time ceases to exist. Future and past dissolve into the eternal now. The mind is silent. All that remains is pure being, luminous and complete. Every moment, every breath, every heartbeat appears as the movement of the universe itself. The love born in God consciousness is attached to nothing. It is awareness itself. It is unconditional love, endless existence, and inexplicable joy. Consciousness has always been whole and infinite. Deep sleep, dreams, wakefulness, silence, the observer and love, all flow into the same infinite ocean of being. At this final level, the search ends. The seeker has always been resolved within what was sought. There is only one reality, one consciousness, and one existence. and it has always been you. From sleepless sleep to cosmic unity, the levels of consciousness extend toward depth. Each level feels like an ascent, yet in truth, it is a circle, a return to the source that was never left. We begin in darkness and end in light, even realizing that darkness itself is part of it. Science traces this through waves and frequencies. Philosophy explains it through metaphors. Both point to the same secret. Consciousness is not something we have. It is us. Bodies, thoughts, and dreams change, yet the awareness behind them remains untouched, eternal, and radiant. Across the 7 levels, awareness moves from ignorance to knowledge, from separation to unity, from silence to sound. It rests as potential in deep sleep, imagines in dreams, creates in wakefulness, remembers itself in transcendence, observes in cosmic consciousness, delights in divine love, and finally returns home in unity, realizing that it never truly left. Perhaps consciousness has no ultimate limit. It is like a mirror reflecting itself. As the saying goes, the universe experiences its reflection in every form, every opening eye, every awakened mind, every life beginning and ending. All are consciousness discovering itself. Perhaps the 7 levels are only appearances. In truth, there is only one level, which we perceive as many dreams. The greatest truth of consciousness is not its hiding. It is that it has always been looking at the world through our eyes.